Well, I was born and raised in Watsonville, and when the war broke out, I was a freshman there, 15 going on 16. It was a shock. It was a shock to the whole family, and shock to myself when I went to school. Same with teachers. You know, they weren't exactly happy about it because they kind of try to ease it up on us. You know, they say, "Oh, you'll be back in about a month, and everything will be fine." So we had to get out of class maybe first part of the week, you know. And I remember a teacher saying, "You'll be back in about a year or so. Get back to study after the war's over." But took 3 years. We got a notice, you know, big notice that we will be evacuated, and that to clear up the property or whatever things you had to take care of within a couple of days, you know. My dad was picked up, and I never saw him until 2 years later, but he picked up then, and I was the adult in the family. There was a family friend, who came around to help. Well, I was 15, but I couldn't drive yet, but I still drove, you know. Drove around and went to Salinas because we were building my mother was building the midwife clinic for the average farmers, you know. Not well to do farmers, but then when the broke out, we were right in the center of fixing up a building. That all went to pot. So we didn't know what happened to the building that was supposed to be built, and all these paperwork that we got involved in. We lost everything. They set up all these barracks in the radio ground. It was pretty crowded, you know. And I mean, the only camp we first went into was in Salinas Rodeo camp, and that was barracks. And it was funny, it was kind of odd, because we had to eat in just like Army style. And then latrine was terrible, you know. They dug a hole and they built up a latrine like they would have in a farmers area. And we were considered city folks, actually, living in a city. My father never farmed, and my mother's a midwife, so I never had a chance of being associated with the farmers, actually. Except they asked me to help out, and I don't know why, pick berries maybe every now and then, but I wasn't exactly up to it, no. First of all, we got on a train at the Salinas on the Watsonville station, and they pulled the shade down. You can't see it. Nobody from the outside can see the inside, or you can't peek for the outside. So we were on a dark street railroad, I guess. Shut down. When we got off the train, it was the rodeo grounds. And from then on, I went on a bus to, I don't know where we took the bus to, but then buses only to the bus station, railroad station, and it was railroad station from Salinas was exactly the same as the one that we took from Watsonville. Everybody's all kind of curious about where they were going. They could peek out, but then never could find out where we would end up, you know. Ended up in Poston, Arizona, Parker Dam. And it was hot. Man, it was hot. I was really sports nuts, and I was pretty good in sports. So freshman year in high school, I made my letter. So when we were in camp, I helped out with the coaching. And, we had a softball team, hardball team, football team, basketball team. Just block by block, and we had a tournament. So I kind of think that sports had quite a bit to do with the attitude of the Nietzsche guy like us. Because there was a group there, a little older group that was trained, studied in Japan, and came back and considered that they called them Akibe, returned Japanese. They had their own group, but then they couldn't beat. Well, when they had problems, they couldn't compete against us. First time we ever seen a rattlesnake, there were some in California, but we never saw any. And every block had a cage with snakes in it, rattlesnakes. And these each day, our parents, they had time to go fishing. And when they go fishing, they always turn into a rattlesnake. They used to tie them up and bring them in the camp. They never got bitten. They don't right. And then they keep in a cage, not a very strong cage, but that's a wire cage. And we had a lot of kids going around playing with it, Yeah, we were scared to the hell of it. But kids in their kindergarten age around there, they don't care. Snaking, they enjoy seeing it. Yeah. Also another thing is there was no medicine. You go to a hospital and they probably give you a medicine to bring your fever down, but then at camp block, whenever you get sick, you just out of luck. You got to get over your sickness. And I had one bad case of perspiration, high fever, nothing to give for medicine. The older people that blocked, we had a whole block, a pond full of fish, carp, carp. The old man was catching. He grabbed that one of the biggest one and poke it throat, spill out of blood, And I drank about 2 teaspoons of blood, carp blood. Sure enough, my fever disappeared. The next day, I was nothing, and then I had to go to camp because we put in a request for camp, and it was about 2 days later. But then I went to the camp, and then doctors said my blood was funny. My blood was funny. You can't tell what it is. Don't know what it is. And that was it. I was in the hospital for about a year. Feeling perfect. Nothing wrong with me. When I cannot go home, he said, you go back to your barracks or you can go outside of the camp. When I went into the hospital, I still was kind of, no fever, but then groggy. I remember they put me to sleep. I'm still grateful for that carp. Nobody believed me. And doctor, I tell doctors right now, doctors, they feed you everything in camp, Well, I was a sports nut, In high school, I was sketching the athletes, baseball, football, and everything. And I never took art lessons. So when we went into camp, there was no art teacher. If there was one woman there, but she was an Indian, and I don't think she had a class in art at all. she didn't know how to go about fixing up a class in art class. And I never took art there. So when time came for us to find out a place, look for a school in outside, I was at disadvantage of not having a background from my college education. I was going to Cal, and Cal had their requirement subject I had taken. I took a little bit of it before they kicked me out of high school. And then when we went to camp, there was nothing to follow through on that. It looked good on film and everything that we got out of there first class to set up and graduate, but I still have a report card, and report card is it got A, B, C, D, and there's more G's than the B's, and it won't get by any requalification for the college, and I was rejected, and I gave up asking for any help. Actually, we had 3 camps, and Camp 1 had the first choice at communication with the college outside, and Camp 2 and 3 was following whatever they have left behind, And I never had any counsel or advisor for him to go to school outside. I had to go to school outside on myself with a friend working in a lumber company. Getting them. By the time the lumber company had to release a lot of people because the war was over, just about over, and the result was they discharged me, but I stayed enough for 1 semester. But that was just for tuition. I didn't have no place to go, no place to stay, so I did what my father and mother used to do, I guess, when they first came to the United States. They went to work for a house. I was a houseboy. I worked weekdays every night, washing dishes and cleaning up the place. And I had a Saturday and Sunday off, fortunately. So I have a place to stay and little money, finance. So I went to art school and trying to get in, but they turned me down. And it was the Cleveland School of Fine Art. It was a good school, and I really wanted to get in there. And I got a job at the school there as a janitor, helping the janitor. And I guess the janitor liked it to me, and he says, "Are you going to be a student here?" And I said, "Yeah, but I can't get in." And what happened? I explained that we came from a camp, no schooling, no background. And then he says, "Yeah, you can draw." I sketched for him, "You can draw. I take you up to the." So he took me to the schoolmaster, what is called, and he showed him my artwork, and he said, "Well, let's see what you can do with watercolor." Watercolor is my favorite, and no problem. I just did whatever he said. And he said, "You're in." That's how I got in first semester. In the second semester, I got honor student. You're free. Fee is not, scholarship. Yeah. Well, he gave me a scholarship for the second term, And funny thing is that second term, soon as the second term started, I got a letter from Uncle Sam, Army. They run out of the camp into another camp, Army camp. And they sent me to Sam. Anyhow, for basic training, took out on the outskirts of Cleveland, Indianapolis. And I forgot the name of the fort. But anyhow, we started there and we moved over to Texas, Fort Sam Houston for basic training. And I was the oldest one in the outfit, I guess, not quite 18 yet, but still I was the oldest. They asked me where I want to go, and I wherever you want to send me, then you go to this medical school. You'll be a dental technician. And I was pretty good at dental technician, clever with my tooth, making tooth. And the sergeant says, you stick around for about a year here. You'll get a certificate for this school here. And I was happy with that. And then just when the time for me to move, they had another sergeant call me and says, gave me a book, Japanese book. He said, read it. I can't read Japanese book. I said, well, read the calligraphy, kanji, they call it. And I couldn't read north, south, and west, all that, because I played mahjong, And some of the mahjong thing was strictly Japanese. And he said, well, you speak pretty good Japanese then. I said, no, I can't speak anything, hardly anything. You didn't go to school? I said, well, we went to Japanese school. But then it was Japanese school where we go inside the door and come out of the window back. So can't call it a school. But well, how do you talk with your parents? And I said, well, I have a big argument with my mother every day, arguing. And he said, well, how can you argue with your mother when you can't speak Japanese? And I kind of got hooked there, but that's how I learned to speak, communicate with my mother, because otherwise I never would have. I argue with my folks just about everything. And in a way, my mother was kind of glad that I could do that, because she said, you can talk like that, you'll be all right. Strict, but understanding. The sergeant said, well, you're fit for MI language school. Sent to Monterey. And he said, you don't like going to Monterey? I said, not necessarily, because it's a school, a hard school, language school. And I'm not qualified for it. But then I go because I from Watsonville, only Fort Ord, just about get a ride home every time. And I got by. I cheated. I got by into the classification test, because I had this fellow that sat next to me, was a Hawaiian boy, University of Hawaii graduate, but he studied Japanese, and Hawaii Japanese was good. Japanese school, similar to Japan. And he shoved his paper over to my side and copied. I just copied. And that's why I was going writing. I didn't have too much trouble writing. And I later found out that I can't read or write. I mean, I can't read a book, but then When it comes to writing something from the book, I could do that. One of the top class, early graduating class. Within 3 months, I was sergeant, book sergeant. They give you a rating provided you volunteer for a certain amount of time in Japan. 3 months, I was book sergeant, sent to Japan. Occupation. There's a lot of guys are kind of surprised, 6 months, 3 months in the Army and get a buck private, by me a buck sergeant. What a treatment. I mean, you go on a ship, you're a sergeant, and get a good treatment. So that's why I started my occupation. And for 1 year, I was an interpreter, strictly interpreter. And then CIC called me up. I didn't call them up, but they called me up, and they're looking for a pretty good linguist for military intelligence, counterintelligence. I thought it was a pretty good deal. So I went, and I was stationed in Nagano Prefecture, Japan Alps area. It's a hotbed for communists. I stayed at Nagano City and Matsuoka City, biggest city in Nagano Prefecture. Me and my officer and myself. And that only lasted for about half a year. And then after I was just alone there. And then until then, all the documents were signed by him. Oh yeah, they asked me to sign it, as a secret agent number, and so the Army record section should have a pretty good record of myself. I don't know where it is, but for some party at Fort Hollywood, that's where they graduate all these CIC boys. They gave me a good treatment after that. They asked me to stick around. They said there'd be officers' qualifications that's coming up. You take that, and we'll give you whatever position, wherever you want to go in Japan, Korea. Not Korea, but I'll stay in Japan, After I came discharged, I went to Hartnell. And from Hartnell, I transferred to Sophia University in Tokyo, one of the top universities. And at daytime, I was registered at Keio, and as a top student, daytime student. And then nighttime, I went to Sophia. And under GI Bill. And then the GI Bill have a hard time catching up with me, going transferring school after school. So buying out to College of Keio and Sophia University. And I was pretty broke. But the check came to me in punch, about half a year later, until I got a visa check. Hardly anything to go on. And that's when I started cartooning. I did a cartoon for a Japanese magazine, Japanese sports magazine, baseball magazine. It went over pretty good. They first time I've been paid for my artwork. And then there was this English publishing office called me up and called me Mr. Tuttle, and he asked me to illustrate a lot of books, and I illustrated about 2-3 books for him. And then he gave. Then I did a book on he titled it Rice-Paddy Daddy, about a student in Japan. But his idea was that still in Japan have a girlfriend, and that the girlfriend and he is the main character, and then right now, then at the same time, Star and Stripe came out with the book, similar, except it's a GI and a girl, Japanese girl. From then on, I didn't have too much trouble with my cartoons. Yomiuri and Nippon Times, Japan Times, another one. They wanted me to come as a political cartoonist. The Japanese cartoonists, I don't know how they're raised, but then they never had any association with outside Japan. As a cartoonist, I was the only one that could, speak English, and then American born. So my idea was slightly different from their idea. Consequently, I have a little tangle every now and then. But they had the English paper, Japan Times English paper, and then Asahi News had an English paper, and they both used my cartoons. But then my best seller were sports cartoons. Being a sport cartoonist, and only niche in the area there, Japan, that draw those things. So I had a big market to myself. I didn't do much studies there, so I was there on tourist visa. So the immigration office to go home, you're through here. I was married. I just got married, and my kid was on the way. So I thought, well, it's fine. That'd be a good time for me to go back. And I ended up in San Francisco, no job. The Japanese company I went to, Marubeni, hired me right away. They wanted an English-speaking niche. They didn't hire me as a Kola Hunshine, the regular employee of Marubeni. I was part-time. They kept me up long enough, I guess. They kept me over 14 years old. 14 years I worked with them. And in the meantime, while I'm working with Marubeni, I was doing cartoons for the magazines and newspapers. The Berkeley Gazette, they used me first, and then Tribune used me later, second. And then I started selling them pretty good, more so than Marubeni. I make more money there. That's when I got started in this cartoon. And then on this book here, I thought about this book here while I was doing a cartoon. My mother, fortunately, kept all my drawings in camp. She said, "Here, this is all your drawings. You can make a book out of this one." And I looked at it, it's a sloppy drawing, but then still good enough for me to develop it into like the cartoon like this. And so that's the reason, that's how it came about.